One day at a time, Toastmaster Vrinda.
Thank you, Toastmaster Raj. To begin with, let me emblazon my introduction of the speech. Everything begins with the small step. Everything can be achieved by one small step at a time. Now imagine, in my hand there is a one roti with a paneer makhan wala. How many of you like paneer makhan wala? You'll get this paneer makhan wala and roti to eat with free of cost, but there is only one condition. You have to eat this roti with paneer makhan wala in one bite. How many of you will be able to do that? Anybody? Almost none. Not a single person. Right? To finish this roti, we need to make this roti into bite size. Each one bite at a time, and then move it to the next step. Similarly, my project, this time management, I have broken into small bit of pieces. The time interval. My project is time management. Earlier, I used to write my speech, sit at one time, read the objective, and start writing. First draft. If I'm stuck, I'm bored, I used to leave it there. I wait till the enthusiasm come again, idea come again, and months passed away, and I did nothing. For this project, I have used different strategy. While I'm developing this story, I note down the time, how I'm using, and I'll be using that time to create another strategy, how effective, to see how effective it is. I will state this entire project with the abbreviation time. T. Set the target date. What I do first is set my target date. Okay, on the 6th of October I am going to give my speech. जब तक शादी की डेट फिक्स नहीं होती है, दिमाग में चल रहे हैं कोई भी प्लान्स पेपर पर नहीं आते, correct? Until and unless date of marriage is fixed, all the plans going in your head will not come onto the paper. Once you set the date, you start planning on the paper. On the first day, what I did, I opened my project, I read project and objectives. That's it, for 5 minutes. On second day, I again, for 5 minutes, I opened the project, I read my project, and I again read the objectives and start with my end into the mind. I thought what I am going to give you my message. Third day, I opened my project, I skimmed through my objectives and I read the project again, and then I decided what beginning I am going to have, what introduction I am going to give, how I am going to emblazon on my introduction. On the 5th day, what I did, I took out the project and there is a speech outline PDF available on the internet, Toastmasters portal. I download that and I fill that thing. I fill introduction, what I'm going to use. I fill what are the message I'm going to give. Next step comes, I finish the target date. Now I come to art. Interesting examples. On the 7th day, I start writing body of the speech. In that body of the speech, I decided to have 3 points or a 4 point. I decide what example I am going to give to support each point. On the 8th day, I write my first draft. It takes me 20 minutes. Whatever comes to my mind, using those points, I write the first draft. We completed target date. We completed interesting example. Now we are going to give meaning to this art project. I continue on the next day. I continue by writing after my first draft. I started giving meaning to that entire speech. What else I can add? Can I add humor into it? Can I add any similes, metaphors, any good words can I include into it? So I started giving meaning. After that next day, almost 10th day, I finished my third draft and it took me only 10 minutes. We finished target date, we finished interesting examples, we finished meaning, sorry, thanks. Now last comes E, experiment. I read somewhere that frog, when they are buried into the mud, they don't die. But the frogs who jump into the half vessel of the curd, they die. I heard that story, I am sharing with you guys. When the two frogs fell into the pot of the curd, which was filled half. First frog, who knew, both the frogs knew that they cannot survive in the curd. First frog fell and he died immediately. Second frog, what he thought, if anyway I am dying, let me try something to survive. If I can keep myself alive. So he started fluttering for 5 minutes it did not. And what happened? Curd churned and butter came up. Level rise up and he jumped up. What he did is experiment. Even though he was knowing that he is not going to survive, he experimented. So similarly, next 11th, 12th and 13th day, I experiment with my speech. I practice delivering. I practice saying that if I can use my stage this way, or use how wide I can use my hands, how I can keep my hands like this, or can I use any prop? This reminds me, I was going to bring two frogs here for the experiment, but I realized, Mark, you are going to kill me if a frog dies accidentally. So, jokes apart, let me conclude my speech. First, you decide target time. Second, you interesting examples. Third, give meaning to the speech. And fourth, experiment. With this, I completed my speech within 90 minutes in the span of 15 days. So, you can cherish this roti bite when you make it bite-sized. What about you, Toastmaster of the day?
Let's have it.